I was younger, my friends and I used to play games. We used to pretend that we were certain types of animals, dogs or cats or wolves or rabbits. We used to pretend that we could turn into them, that they were our spirit animals almost. And it was all a lot of fun. It was all very interesting. The kind of thing that you did when you were a kid. Now, I can't have imagined that only a couple of decades later, we'd be looking at a story in the news where a school, a secondary state school in East Sussex, is now under investigation because a teacher reprimanded a student who basically said it was ludicrous for another child to identify as a cat.
If they want to identify as a cat or something, then they're like genuinely unwell.
Then they've gone,
yeah, they're crazy.
You were questioning their identity.
No, I wasn't a question. I was just saying about the gender. I haven't said anything about them.
But where did you get this idea from that there's only two genders?
I just think it's my opinion.
That is my opinion.
If I respect their opinion, can't they respect my opinion?
It is not an opinion.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
but
It's not an opinion you can have.
it is.
Cisgender is not necessarily the way to be. You were talking about the fact that cisgender is the norm, that you identify with the gender of the sexual order that you're born with, or you're with. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which is really despicable. How you identify.
Yeah,
But it's not an opinion that we're expressing this school.
It is.
No, it's not. And if you don't like it, you need to go to a different school. So I'm reporting you to Miss Willis.
I don't know whether this child is identifying as a cat as a joke or whether he or she genuinely believes that he or she is a cat. But for this teacher to turn around to this student and actually call her despicable because she said, "This is crazy, it's crazy, you're not a cat." For the teacher to do that, well, now we have crossed the line, haven't we? Now we can see how once again the woke poison in our country, this great import from the United States, which has swept across our lands and gone into every single institution we can think of, this same poison is now infecting the education system to the degree where we're now looking at schools being investigated because of what teachers are doing. I don't believe there's anyone out there with common sense who could think that the teacher is in any way justified with what she has done. Apparently they were having a debate in the classroom and one student says, "I identify as a cat." Another student turns around and says, "That's crazy. You're not a cat. You can't identify as a cat." What does the teacher do? No, rather than doing what a teacher should do, which is giving students the platform to think critically and debate between themselves and that thing we call free speech, which we value, this teacher decides to reprimand this student, starting off with, "How dare you?" and then tell her that she was despicable. That is definitely worthy of investigation. Quite frankly, I think that this teacher should be investigated and there should be repercussions for what she has done. Because this is a prime example of the type of ludicrous insanity that we are witnessing in the education system. And the fact that they are doing it to these 12, 13-year-olds makes it all the more worse. It's about time that this government gets involved in something like this. It's absolutely crazy to think that this should be allowed to continue in the education system. So if someone wants to identify as a cat and someone else wants to say, "That's crazy, that's wrong," well, that person has every right to say that because that is what we call freedom of speech. That's what we call exercising freedom of speech. This teacher in this school has proven, is living proof, that the education system in this country does not value freedom of speech and is clamping down with their own way of thinking and going on as if everyone should adhere to what they think, which is absolute rubbish. And most definitely, this needs investigating and it needs to be eradicated from our schools.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.